certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rank 'Em. This is going to be a fun one today. We're ranking the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise in honor of Halloween. And despite what some may have seen before I edited the title, it is the top 9 movies in Nightmare on Elm Street, not 12, because there was no 12 movies. But here we've got Greg. Greg, how's it going?
What's up? How are you?
Also, you're good. Also, we've got Alejandro. How's it going?
Happy Halloween, everybody. I've got my Halloween spirit in full force, and there's nothing more I love better than the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, so I'm really excited to be here.
Yeah.
This guy gets it.
Yeah.
But with that being said, how this is going to work is because this is a franchise ranking. You may have seen a Halloween one a few weeks ago, but basically, there's no point in nominating because there's only 9 movies. All 9 are going to be getting in regardless of their quality. But it's going to be an extended version of the ranking. We're going to vote on what we want at each spot, and then we will talk about that movie. Then we move on to 8 and so on and so forth. So, Greg, what do you have for number 9?
It's the easiest answer on the board. 2010.
Alejandro?
Me, I don't think 2010 is actually that bad. The worst one for me is number 5, The Dream Child.
Oh.
It's 2010 for me. So, Nightmare on Elm Street, the remake, is going to be number 9. Greg, what are your thoughts on
It was horrendous. Don't get me wrong, some of the side characters were good. I thought Rooney Mara was good in it. Clancy Brown was good as Glenn's dad. Jackie Earle Haley looked like he ordered Freddy Krueger off Wish. It was so badly done. He had a couple of good one-liners in it. And I suppose the one thing you want when you're trying to make the audience hate the character was to use the word pedophile on him, which they tended to stay away from in the original ones. They implied it, but they stayed away from it. But they tarred him with that in 2010, and yeah, there wasn't much else good to say about it. It was just horrible from start to finish.
And Alejandro, you're going to try and defend this. So what are your thoughts about it?
Just a little bit. I mean, I don't think Jackie Earle Haley was a bad pick. I mean, yeah, the makeup effects, I'll give you that one. Could have been a little bit better. They went for a more realistic touch, which didn't really work. It doesn't transfer to cinema as well as I think they wanted it to. The graphics were better updated. An example would be like running down the hallway and the floor sinking into quicksand or whatever it was supposed to be. I thought that was a really cool sequence.
The tar.
The tar. It was pretty sick, especially, I mean, you've seen the original Nightmare on Elm Street. She walks up the stairs and they sink in as she's trying to walk up them. They took that idea and they upgraded it, or I should say updated it with higher effects and stuff. So I will agree. Not the best Nightmare movie. I wasn't going to let it go past number 6, but yeah.
It was never getting past 9 for me.
I mean, look, I rewatched this last night, and look, I do agree. I think Jackie Earle Haley was good as Freddy Krueger. The actual effects to make it close to a burn victim didn't work at all. But the one thing that I did sort of read up about that I will mention is that apparently in the original Nightmare on Elm Street, apparently Wes Craven did consider making Freddy a child molester, but then he decided to change it up to a child killer. So this one was what Wes's original intentions would have been. But yeah,
it was a late change in the script apparently in the original. because I think something had happened majorly around the States at that time, and they were like, maybe we don't put that out. And
Yeah, it's definitely one of those weird ones. But apparently, Freddy Krueger voices support of the remake, so that is what it is.
I agree with Greg. It's a little bit weird that they didn't put it in there because it's heavily implied throughout the franchise. So,
oh yeah,
I think they mention it in 5.
probably,
I think it's 4 or 5 they mention it in. But yeah, 1 it was really implied when he had the little girl down in the basement at the start.
Freddy vs. Jason, yeah.
No, in Nightmare on Elm Street 1 in the opening scene, when he has the little girl in the white dress down in the basement when he's sharpening the knives and she's standing by the boiler.
The first one?
Yeah, it's literally the opening scene of it. So when you see him and he's sharpening his knives, he has a little kid in the basement with him.
Right,
She's cowered in the corner.
That's Freddy vs. Jason.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. Glove.
Yeah, it's too late in the evening now tonight.
It's all right. We'll be getting to that one eventually. But Andrew, what do you have for it?
I mean, I'm going to stick with it. Number 5, The Dream Child. Man, that movie.
But for me, I've got Freddy's Revenge. Greg, what do you have for 8?
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street 2. Freddy's Revenge. It's fucking terrible.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But Alejandro, speak on Freddy's Revenge.
Freddy's Revenge. I mean, I recently watched Scream Queen, so I have a newfound appreciation for that film. Not a great film. It's painfully boring, if nothing else. And Freddy's really kind of an afterthought. Like, he's not really implemented that well into the movie, so I can see it being not even like a top 7 type of movie. But for my money, I still think I would prefer to watch this one over Dream Child.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those ones that, for me, if this wasn't marketed as a Nightmare on Elm Street movie, I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more. But because it was Nightmare on Elm Street movie, it was partly because Freddy did seem like an afterthought in this. Is definitely why I didn't connect with this more. And this is one of the ones that I thought I'd seen before, but I hadn't actually seen before. So this was the first time watch for me. Just one of those ones that definitely didn't resonate for me at all.
I imagine it's going to be a one and done for you, is it?
Oh, look. When it comes to franchise, if I ever want to rewatch them all, I'm going to rewatch them all because I can do things in order. So, but Greg, what are your thoughts on Freddy's Revenge?
There's a couple of cool scenes in it. The bus scene, obviously everyone remembers. I thought the little what I don't think it's an indirectly thing, but the little homage to Alien where he comes out of Grady's chest, like the chest buster, was pretty cool. Other than that, it was very meh. Like they're living on Elm Street. You see Nancy's house. You've seen Glenn's house in the first one, right? And then all of a sudden they're still on Elm Street. Next thing you know, all these houses have pools and everything, but none of the other houses had them. Like the whole thing just changed. The whole movie was just mushed together, and you could tell that Craven had nothing to do with it, really.
Yeah, that was the only way he could make the movie in the first place, was to sell the rights. So this movie was basically a cash grab.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. But
I do appreciate the transformation sequence, though. It's pretty cool.
Oh, yeah. But for me, moving on, unless anyone's got anything else they want to say on Freddy's Revenge.
Watch Scream Queen. It's really good.
Oh, I love Scream Queens. I do think it's a good show. But for me, for number 7, I've got Dream Master. Greg, what do you have for 7?
I have Final Nightmare.
And Alejandro.
Yeah. Why even ask me? It's going to be Dream Child. But I mean,
so what I was going to, well, we've got a three-way tie.
Yeah.
So we are going to go to the real, unless someone in the chat wants to say. So, got Final Nightmare, Dream Master, and Dream Child.
I think it's a toss-up between Dream Master and Dream Child, honestly.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I think Final Nightmare was just mushed. Like, it's nearly as bad as number 2 for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And like, I absolutely love this franchise.
But anyway, the wheel is set and it is spinning.
Dream
Master.
All right. I can live with that.
I had that at number 4 on my list.
Wow. That's really high.
But yeah, I mean, like for me, Dream Master is another one of those ones that I thought I'd watched before, but hadn't ones. But this is one that and from here on in, all these movies are 3 stars or higher for me. So I didn't hate them. So and it's one of those ones. I think this one really did a good job with the whole pulling people into dreams to help and all that. I think it's just one of those ones I thought was a really interesting kind of storyline, and I think some of the Freddy's crypts in this were great as well. But yeah, Greg, what are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Master?
I actually really liked this one. I thought it was a little different, obviously being able to pull people in and look for help. It kind of played off the old one where they could take him out of the dream, which obviously then means he was vulnerable. But to bring people in to help was good. Bringing some of the cast back from Dream Warriors was very good as well. Nowhere near as good as Dream Warriors, but it was enjoyable. This one, I liked it. As I said, I had it at number 4 on my list.
But Alejandro, what are your thoughts on the Dream Master?
I agree with Greg. Having this one follow Dream Warriors, this is a huge step down. My God, it was cool kind of to get into the concept of how the dreams work and how all the characters can implement themselves into each other's dreams. But other than that, it's just kind of there. Doesn't really do anything for me. It doesn't further the franchise in any significant way, especially with it leading into Dream Child, Jesus Christ. But that movie, number 4, was actually number 8 on my list. So,
whoa.
Oh yeah, that one is a huge letdown.
And one thing I found out a bit in this because is the guy that plays Kincaid. Apparently, he told his friends not to buy any popcorn and just go straight to the movie, as his appearance was minimal and it's
out the gap. Good luck.
But I mean, it's one of those ones when even the actress that played one of the main characters chose not to come back for this is probably more telling as well because
the script doesn't do anything.
Although in saying that, I didn't hate Tuesday as Chris. I think she did a good job, sort of. But with that, we're going to move on to number 6. And I'm assuming, Alejandro, you're sticking with Dream Child.
Yeah, but I think it's Greg's turn to nominate one, or was?
But it's
well, yeah,
it's called Dream Child here anyway.
I'm not letting that thing get into the top 5.
It's not going any further than here anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, I also had Dream Child.
Yeah.
But Greg, what are your thoughts on Dream Child?
Do you know what? They had a really good concept in this, that she's pregnant and obviously the baby's asleep most of the time, and having the micro naps and stuff, but they just made a complete fuck up of it. There's not, like, as I says, 2010 didn't have a whole lot of good to say. This one doesn't have a whole lot of good to say either. Although what I will say is, I think if you look at some of the set designs in this, where he's in the upside down house and stuff and the stairs and all, Stranger Things season 5, is it? The last season of Stranger Things was very similar set designs, and it was very, what I found, very Nightmare on Elm Street based. I know Robert England's obviously in it as well, but I found it like there's a lot of really good set designs, but it doesn't make up for how bad the movie is.
And Alejandro, what are your thoughts on Dream Child?
I mean, I echo everything that Greg said, minus the micronaps thing. That feels like something that they just read about and they were like, "Oh, let's put that in the movie," without doing any further research on it, or because the entire concept is we don't know where dreams come from, we don't know how they affect us, and this movie did absolutely nothing with that idea. I think that this movie ran itself into a corner with the whole. It did what every horror movie does when they run out of ideas. Oh, let's give him a kid, or let's have him get married, or something stupid. Like, it's just ridiculous. And how do you have Freddy Krueger try to menacingly say it's a boy? Like, that's just dumb.
You obviously have Super Freddy as well.
Yeah, there is that.
I actually got to interview.
Logomaniac.
I got to actually interview Michael Bailey Smith, who played Super Freddy.
Oh, cool!
He's awesome.
I'm sure he's a nice guy for sure.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny because I really enjoyed the whole Super Freddy fight at the end. It's part of the reason why I actually prefer Dream Child over Dream Masters. I think Dream Child. I think if you look at these in sort of arcs and that, I think the Dream Child, I think, closed off the whole Kristen arc in this, that and tied it up perfectly. Because like the first three arguably is the Nancy arc,
trilogy, yeah,
and then it goes to Kristen for 3 movies from Dream Warriors. Well, I mean, essentially
3 and 4. 2 has nothing to do with Nancy, really.
Well, yeah,
yeah.
I knew what I meant to say, but yeah.
Yeah. Do you want a fun piece of trivia about that one? So you know the guy who gets Ting pregnant in this is actually Michael Bailey Smith, who plays Super Freddy.
Cool. Pulling double duty. Good on that guy.
Getting paid, getting all them dollars.
But anyway, Alejandro, what do you have for 5?
All right, top 5. This is where it gets interesting. I think I'm gonna go with Freddy's Dead.
I've also got Freddy's Dead. Greg.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Still
Freddy's
a top
Dead
5 movie, but
yeah,
there are better movies in the franchise. I think Freddy's Dead is a pretty satisfying conclusion to the entire Freddy Krueger saga, as far as like where we end up. Like, yeah, obviously we had other movies after that, but to follow everything that we did from 1984 until that point, I think it's a pretty satisfying conclusion. It's not the best movie. It does have the Power Glove, which is ridiculous, but it kind of fits in with the motif of Freddy Krueger, so I'm going to give that one a pass because I genuinely enjoy this movie.
Yeah, no, like I'm saying, like I genuinely enjoyed this, and in fact, like I probably enjoyed it more on this rewatch of it than when I did the last time, especially after having the context of all the other movies that I before that. And I think it just really worked, and I think that it ties off the whole Nightmare on Elm Street thing, and like, and it. I mean, it's one of the best series that has the final nightmare, and it actually is the final nightmare, because, like, arguably, like, Freddy vs. Jason is kind of iffy about where it's his continuation is, and then you've got the reboot, which is not connected at all in the first place, but there's other movies that has the final, then like they do another sequel.
Yeah, Friday the 13th, the final chapter.
15 movies later.
Yeah.
But Greg, what are your thoughts on Freddy's Dead?
It was okay. It's as I said, it didn't deserve to be in the top 4. I think 5 is. I had it at 6. I had it at 7. Obviously other ones came about, but it's one of the weaker ones in the franchise. It's enjoyable nonetheless with some of the pieces in it, but I wouldn't be too pushed where it went in as long as it didn't get in the top 4. It's just there in the franchise.
Yeah. But with that, we've got 4 movies left, which is basically the first Nightmare, 3, New Nightmare, and Freddy Vs Jason, which honestly I did not expect to last this long, but apparently I found 2 other people that actually like this movie.
I do like this movie.
But Greg, what do you have for 4?
Freddy vs Jason.
Alejandro.
I also have Freddy vs Jason at number 4 for sure.
Same here.
Yeah.
But yeah, Freddy vs Jason is just a whole lot of fun.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's one of those ones like I've seen people sort of trash this going, oh yeah, it's not good, it's just really meh and forgettable. It's not supposed to be a Oscar-winning movie. It's supposed to just a whole lot of fun and a fight that everyone has always wanted to see. I kind of wish they threw Michael in there. I kind of wish they threw Ash in there. And apparently there was rumors of a sequel to it that was going to include Ash at some stage.
I'm not sure where they would go with that, but okay.
But it's just a lot of fun. Like Freddy using his mother to convince Jason to go to Elm Street and murder people, and just try and show that he's back, and it's just Genius. A lot of fun. Yeah, and then like Freddy invading Jason's dreams, and then Jason bringing him out in the open to Elm Street, Camp Crystal Lake, rather. It's a whole lot of fun, and Mickey Pfeiffer is great, and yeah. Greg, what are your thoughts about Freddy vs Jason?
Was anyone ever so happy to see someone get killed when Kelly Rowland got killed? She was a horrendous character in this. Jesus Christ. Like, I loved the whole setup where he uses the ma to get people scared again. I thought it was very good. Some of the death scenes are good. I especially like the one when the slug goes in, when Freddy's he's like designed as the slug, goes into the stoner's mouth, gets him to get the 2 injections, and he gets cut in half.
Yeah,
like
totally not Jason news.
It's just a lot of fun. That's all it was. It's because like if you watch this as a non-fan of the franchise, it's fucking terrible. The movie is awful, but for horror fans, it's enjoyable because of what it was. Now, I really, really wish they had went with the alternate ending that was set to be. I don't know if any of you have seen that.
I read the novel, actually. It was
the one with Hellraiser.
Cool. Oh no, Freddy vs. Jason. I found it in an airport. There's a novelization. It's pretty good. Oh
no, there's one of the ideas pitched to New Line was, so at the end of it when Freddy and Jason are fighting, the 2 of them get sucked down into hell, right? And they're getting ready to start fighting in hell, and a lot of chains come out and pull them apart, and it cuts to what I imagine was supposed to be Doug Bradley playing Pinhead, being like, "Do we have a problem, gentlemen?" And then it'll just cut out.
That could have been a lot of fun.
That one would have set up the second one much better than what they left it on.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But hey.
But going back from it, one thing I forgot to mention about Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmares. A fun fact: do you know what Johnny Depp was credited as in that movie because it wasn't Johnny Depp.
Glenn Lance, was it?
No, he was credited as Oprah Noodle Mantra. Why? I do not know, but
He didn't want to put his name to it.
I guess not.
He didn't want to overshadow what was in it, I'd say.
well, I mean,
Because he'd become big at that stage.
it's probably one of those ones like if it was revealed that Johnny Depp was going to have some role in it, then yeah. But anyway,
that's what I mean. Like, go ahead.
Sorry. Here's my thing about this movie. This is the one thing that I take away is that this movie gives you exactly what it markets. It doesn't try to be more than it is. It says Freddy versus Jason. You get Freddy versus Jason. Like, there's nothing else to expect. Like Greg was saying, if you're a fan of the franchise, of either franchise, then you know what's coming. You know these characters, and you want to see them beat the shit out of each other. And that's exactly what we got. It doesn't have to tie into anything. It's a great standalone flick for any horror fan. I like it a lot.
I mean, it's not just one time you see the two boys scrapping it out. There's 3 or 4 occasions in the movie.
Yeah, in different settings. Like it's almost like Mortal Kombat. It's great.
Yeah.
But anyway, moving on to number 3, and this is where things are going to get interesting because
oh yeah,
we either going to all agree or it's going to be 3 completely different answers. But
I have a feeling.
But Alejandro, what do you have for number 3?
Number 3 is actually going to be the OG 1984 19 on Elm Street. Number 1, the original, you might say. I love that movie, but
I also have the original on Elm Street.
Hold on now. Hold the phone. Hold the fucking phone here. Really?
It's a good movie, but
really,
as far as what we have left,
really,
and I love this movie. But New Nightmare is a great movie. We'll get to why New Nightmare and Dream Warriors are great movies, but there's not a whole lot that Nightmare 1984 gives us going in. Like, yeah, is the whole thing a dream? Like, I was watching this with a friend of mine the other night, and her reaction was, wait, so was it a dream? Are we still in a dream? That's not an ending to this movie, and I absolutely agree. Like, it's kind of ridiculous the way the movie ends. But I think as a building point, as a starting point for this movie, and to work on a shoestring budget the way it did, it's a great movie, and it obviously launched a franchise that we're still talking about today. So it's not a bad spot to be at number 8 or at number 3.
Yeah. No, it's one of those ones like I do love this movie, but the other 2 I do love more. And they both like. There was a point where Nightmare was my number 2, but my actual number 2 now overtook it on the recent rewatches that I did of them. And it's one of those ones like, well, yes, this is the one that started off the franchise, but it also doesn't need like it's still in the top 3. It's still great. It's like it gave us Johnny Depp. It gave us. I think this was his first movie. I can't actually remember if he did anything for this, but it's still a great movie. It's not going to take away from anything. It just means that the other ones are slightly better. And it was like all 3 are probably about rated the same for me. But Greg, what are your thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street, the original?
Really?
Really?
Yeah, really.
I
broken Greg.
I don't know, and it's not often I'm speechless, but number 3, no chance.
No.
Like, okay, I get Heather Landcamp's acting isn't great, right? It never has been, never will be. She's not a great actress, right? You had John Saxon in it, who was the biggest name in the film, and it was another swerve ball by Wes Craven that he's gone on to do a few times, where he used the likes of Drew Barrymore and Scream, and stuff, obviously being a smaller character in it. You had Robert Englund, who absolutely stole the show, right? I,
Yeah.
I generally, this is the first horror movie I ever watched at 11
Same.
years of age. But
Oh,
no, I generally I can't agree with it being 3. Sorry, lads. It's.
But anyway, unfortunately, it is number 3.
this is
but
what
for
you guys
number,
get. I'm just saying.
but
Let
for number
Green
2,
go on. Anyway,
I've got New Nightmare. Greg, what do you have for 2?
Well, now it's going to have to be a New Nightmare. New Nightmare was 3 on mine.
oh, what? I was definitely going to go with Dream Warriors.
No,
But New Nightmare is going to be 2.
I
We were
mean,
so close to getting my top 5 right.
I like a New Nightmare is very fucking good, lads, and it's so underrated.
Yes.
Absolutely underrated. And it was great to see Wes Craven come back. And if I'm right, it's one of the first movies that done that kind of style where the movie was played out as the real people this time. I
Yeah,
can't
no,
think
I
of a
mean,
lot of other movies where that's happened.
yeah, like Alejandro, what are your thoughts on New Nightmare?
I think this movie is probably the best in the franchise. Like, it, not only does it take the concept of it being a movie and being a story to like the next level with he's an actual demon that was caught in these movies, and now that they're not making them anymore, he's free to roam and take them out one by one. But also it is based on the story of Heather Langenkamp getting stalked by some guy who was obsessed with the movies and would like call her house and send her stuff, like leave dead birds on her porch and so forth. And I think that's an insane idea. We couldn't get Johnny Depp back for the movie for whatever reason. I guess he was busy. But man, New Nightmare is great. Being number 2, I guess I can live with that, but I think it's better than
I
that.
still
I
can't
think
live
it's
with the other one
I
being
think
number
it's
3. So. But it's safe to say.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those ones like I love New Nightmare. And it's just one of those ones that and actually I just realised I've done everything wrong because we will now know number one's going to be Dream Warriors. But I'd stuffed up my own show. I'm not used to having less than 12 options. But
No,
anyway,
well, to be fair, New Nightmare deserves to have a conversation anyway.
we would have had a conversation about it regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah,
100%.
I suppose it's only right though to finish out the show talking about what's number 1.
Yeah, we'll get
to
that. But I was just trying to find out what Johnny Depp was doing around the time of New Nightmare, which is why it was taking a long time to talk. But yeah,
anything and everything.
You're right. He met Tim Burton. That's what happened.
That he's probably either filming What's Eating Gilbert Grape, because he did Arizona Dream, Benny and June, and What's Eating Gilbert Grape in '93, and then Edward was released in '94, so it's probably filming Edward. So
yeah.
Whew.
But yeah, like New Nightmare is just one of those. It's most definitely the prototype of Scream, essentially.
Sure.
Like the whole bitterness of it. Well, like he doesn't doesn't quite go into the forming of a movie until Scream 3, but it's just one of those ones that I just really enjoyed. And as watching it the second time, I even said it on my Facebook the other day, yesterday. Like it's got me thinking. It's like, well, maybe like Nightmares 1 through to 6 all exist in the New Nightmare timeline, and they're all just movies written by Wes Craven based on Heather's nightmares about this crazy stalker. So I mean, it's one of those ones that I imagined it to come sort of full circle. That's sort of how it all came about canonically in these movies. Whether or not it's how it was intended, I don't know, but it's how I read it came about.
This movie,
But,
this movie's kind of like the Godfather of legacy sequels. It was the first one to do it. Like, it has nothing to do with the lore of the original franchise, but it takes the idea and amplifies it and makes it incredibly entertaining and also horrifying at the same time. I love it.
I love the fact that he didn't put Nightmare on Elm Street on it. It was just Wes Craven's A New Nightmare.
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Very anyway, moving on to our number one, which is going to be Dream Warriors.
And it is a good movie.
Dream Warriors is brilliant.
But
right.
Greg, what are your thoughts about Dream Warriors?
I love Dream Warriors. For me, like as I says, I had my list. I had the original at number 1. I had Dream Warriors at 2, and it's very close as to which one I'll go number 1 or number 2. I think it's more biased because of how many times I've seen the first one, and the fact that it was my first horror movie, and it was what it was. Dream Warriors is very fun, and it's so different. They're so creative with the kills. Obviously, people, when you remember Dream Warriors, remember the puppet. And Welcome to Prime Time, bitch. Obviously, 2 famous kills in it, but like there were some really good scenes in this. There's not a lot you can't say bad about this movie. The acting was certainly a lot better in this than it was in the first one, which is probably why a lot of people will make this number 1. You get a bit more of a backstory too, rather than just John Saxon and her ma telling her for a 2-minute job in the kitchen.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's different, and the fact that it moved away from Elm Street kind of saved the franchise, because if they had stayed doing what they were doing with like 2, I think the franchise dies very quickly then.
Yeah.
Well, every city has an Elm Street.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones. I always find it funny that like they moved away from Elm Street in the movie, but yet it's still called Nightmare on Elm Street. Like
they're all linked to Elm Street anyway.
Well,
they all live there,
yeah. But Alejandro, what are your thoughts on Dream Warriors?
I mean, I agree. I think this is like the quintessential. If you're going just based on the original 6 movies, this is the Nightmare on Elm Street movie that you want. Like Greg was saying, the acting is 1,000 times better, probably because you had a bit more. I don't want to say a dedicated cast, but a bit more experience, possibly. I mean, you had Lawrence Fishburne in the movie, and the kills were amazing with the puppet. Like, everybody remembers the puppet. Everybody remembers him sticking that chick in the TV. Man, this is the correct number 1. It is not, but that's besides the point. Sorry, I need to throw that in there. Dream Warriors had, I think, everything that you wanted in a nightmare movie. It had Freddy Krueger being funny, but also being horrifying. It had really creative kills, and it had brought back Heather Langenkamp playing Nancy. And we really needed to end that story just because of what I said about 1984. It didn't give you that satisfying conclusion. So 3 came around and did that for us, and I appreciate it for that reason.
Yeah.
Still think New Nightmare is better, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those ones like I really enjoyed New Nightmare just because I thought the kills were entertaining. I think for me, like out of the film, I think this is the most entertaining Freddy has been in the series. And it's just a lot of fun. Like, I know I'm not the only one that has the opinion that this is the best one, because I think if I remember rightly, I think Austin Howell from the Movie Hero Network, I think he's another one that I think he has he probably would have the Dream Warriors higher than all the others as well. I know he really loves that as well, but it's
up there.
Just there's definitely a few people out there that prefer Dream Warriors, like but
I'd say there's more than a few. Like that wouldn't be a very unpopular opinion.
Oh. No, I'm not trying to say it is.
Oh yeah, no, I know. I just, it'd be well up there for. I'd say a lot of people would say the same.
But that being said, the funny thing is, this was through no intention on my own. this is exactly my own personal top 9 list as well. Like the way this seems done. Yeah,
I can't believe that.
But with that, our list of the top 9 Nightmare on Elm Street movies is at 9 we've got the 2010 remake. At 8 we've got Freddy's Revenge. At 7 we've got The Dream Master. At 6 we've got The Dream Child. At 5 we've got Freddy's Dead. At 4 we've got Freddy vs Jason. At 3 we've got Nightmare on Elm Street 84. At 2 we got New Nightmare, and number 1 we got Dream Warriors. But like as I said, like those top 3 are really good. Like they can all, for me personally, they can flip around all over the place at any time. Like there may be times I may have New Nightmare number 1, there may be times the original may get back to there, but
say that like said, tomorrow it could be different.
Exactly. But with that being said, I've got the poll up for what you want next week's topic to be up on the Facebook page already. But Greg, where can people find you online?
You can find me over on Retrotainment Recast on YouTube and Instagram, or at On the Slab Horror Show, which you can see here on my t-shirt, which is the horror show that we run. Episodes come out every Friday night. It's the same at On the Slab Horror Show on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook and YouTube.
And Alejandro, where can people find you online?
Oh, please catch me on Facebook at the Alejandro Hernandez. You catch any of my live performances over in Levelland, Texas at the Wallace Theater, Lubbock Community Theater in Lubbock, Texas, or up on here at Take 3 Productions, opening night trivia, or Full Metal doing the movie Battleground. I'm all over the place, and I'm always looking to show off.
Yeah, and you can find me every Saturday hosting Rankum each week. We'll be back next Saturday. It may be slightly earlier. I have not decided yet. But if you can also find me everywhere else. Like I usually pop up in the movie here to have good times. Of pop up Full Metal, like just like Alejandro. I'm pretty much everywhere at this point. But that being said, we're finished and keep listening shit.
Morir to die. Morir, he, she, or it dies. No.
Maurice, you died. You've mastered a dead tongue, but can you handle a live one?